This is Dr. Amelia Bueche, founder of This Osteopathic Life for the health of all things. As a specialist in neuromusculoskeletal medicine and osteopathic manipulative medicine, I have dedicated my professional career to the study of the intricate design of the human body and understanding how the structural components, nerves, muscles, and bones can influence the function of the entire system. Quality movement directly relates to quality health, and it's important to have the right tools for optimal strength, flexibility, and mobility. Through these videos, I lead you through clear and concise exercises that you can use to find optimal health through movement. It is important to note that while I am a physician, these videos do not constitute medical advice, nor do they replace the important relationship between you and your personal physician. Before beginning any exercise plan, it is important to consult with him or her to ensure these are the right exercises for you, your particular diagnoses, and your current state of health. Thank you for joining me, and let's get started finding best health through movement. In this episode, we're going to work on release exercises for the upper thoracic region, in through the neck, and some drainage techniques as well. It's important whenever we work on exercises for the head and neck, or for experiencing any congestion, to open up the thoracic inlet, and that is this area around the collar. This is where all the lymphatic drainage or the waste products from our body drain. And if we're going to mobilize any fluid in our body, we want that area to be open so it can accommodate any of that fluid exchange. The best thing we can start with are shoulder circles. So often we'll find ourselves in this forward bent posture. And to correct for that, we can begin with just some gentle circles back, rotating the shoulders back, focusing on that reverse direction because we spend so much time here. We're trying to counterbalance that. From the side, you can see that I'm essentially drawing circles with my shoulder. Okay? If that feels like enough and it feels really tense, maybe that's as much as you do. If you feel like you could get a little more out of it, you can enhance that exercise by placing your hands on your shoulders, keeping the elbows close, and inhaling as you draw the elbows up and keeping them close to the ears. Exhale as you circle down and around. And now I'm drawing big circles with my elbows, really thinking about shrugging up, and then exhaling down and really letting the shoulders come down and the shoulder blades come down and together in the back. Okay, so two versions of shoulder circles that can be helpful there. We also want to work on opening up the pecs, the chest muscles. And one way we can do that is just by sitting back and letting the shoulders drop down and back. We might use the arms as a lever here into a cactus pose, letting the elbows come behind the plane of the body. You might reach behind for a surface. If you're at your desk, put one hand on the desk and just start to turn away. Okay? And then you can release back to center. And you would repeat that on the opposite side. Those are some ways to open up the base of the thoracic inlet. We also want to stretch the muscles of the neck, and there are many, and we want to get them in all planes of motion. The first thing we want to do is just take the ear to the shoulder in side bending. And I'm not tipping forward, I'm not looking back, I'm simply going to the side, taking my ear to my shoulder, and not allowing my shoulder to shrug up to do that. If you feel like it starts to drag upward, you can take your opposite hand, place it on the shoulder, and just let the weight of your hand keep that shoulder in place as you lean away. You can also let that arm drop down, and that will also encourage you to keep space between the side where you're tipping the ear. From this position, still keeping the ear toward the shoulder, you can rotate and look more toward the floor, and you'll feel that change where you feel the stretch in your neck. And then you would release, keep that side bending, and now turn and look up. And again, you would change the location of where you feel that stretch. And then gently bring yourself back up to midline. And you would return and do the same on the opposite side. Ear to shoulder, anchoring the shoulder if you need to, rotating to look down, and rotating to look up, and then coming back to center. Excellent. Sometimes we'll find that we get into this forward drooped position with our head. And doing these exercises to help improve the thoracic posture will already help to correct that. And another way that you can help bring your head into a neutral position isn't always directly related to the head itself, but in looking at how you're sitting. And chairs currently often cause us to sit in this fashion. And you can see if I've done this, my gaze is down towards the floor, so I have to kind of work extra hard to bring my head and neck up to maybe look at my computer or look at the person I'm talking to. So if I can start to correct that pelvic posture and come back to neutral, that already helps me to sit up straighter and bring my neck into a more neutral position. So the first thing you should think about if you're having trouble feeling a lot of strain in the back of your neck is consider what your pelvis is doing and how that relates to the function of your neck. I'd like to finish with one last technique that can help with drainage. Sometimes in cold and flu season or in allergy season, we can get a lot of congestion in the head, in the sinuses, in the ears. And one thing that can be helpful is to help balance the parasympathetic nervous system. And there's a small nerve that exits under your orbit, so the bone underneath your eye. And if you take your fingers, you'll feel this little notch. And if you find it, you want to apply just some circular pressure. And it's very light. If you press your fingers together, you can see your color of your nail beds will change. You want that not to happen. So if you're just pressing your fingers together, you're just making contact, essentially. And just applying a really gentle circular pressure on both sides, and that can help improve the drainage, and you've cleared the passageway, and it can make it easier for you to pass some of that congestion you might be experiencing. So we've reviewed in this episode exercises to improve our posture, improve the tension in the muscles of the neck, and improve drainage by stretching the pecs, rotating and opening the shoulders in 2 different ways, stretching the muscles of the neck in various planes of motion, remembering to think about our pelvic posture if we're getting a lot of strain at the back of the neck to help us sit up properly, and to support any drainage with just some gentle circular exercises. Thank you. Thank you for joining in on this episode of This Osteopathic Life, Best Health Through Movement. This is Dr. Amelia Bueche, and we'll see you next time.